Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, beautiful friend. Welcome back to the podcast, and Merry Christmas Eve if you celebrate. I'm so delighted. We did it. We made it to the most fabulous night of twinkle lights and magic and fabulousness. I hope you have big plans, or plans that at least make your heart feel big. Amelia and I are staying close to home this year, and we are getting all of our holiday movie traditions in and spending lots of time connecting and celebrating each other. And it's just so fun. It's fun to parent a beautiful human that is evolving and growing, and I'm so proud of her, and she's such a fabulous unicorn. I just love her so much. And she is also doing this fun practice with me that I've been doing for years, creating a word of the year. And of course, we've done that before in this community. And so I am inviting you to join me, and Amelia won't be there, but she will have already done this practice for a word of the year workshop. That's going to be on January 3rd. So instead of setting resolutions, I like to choose a word of the year, a word that becomes a companion, a guide, a way of being as my year unfolds. So in this 90-minute workshop, we're going to use meditation, journaling, a beautiful mind mapping process, and all of these things are going to come together and allow your word to reveal itself. Not from your head, but from your heart. And it's just going to be a beautiful time together. So the link is down in the show notes. You can register for that workshop, and I would love to have you join me on January 3rd. Today's guest is so delightful, so lovely, so inspiring. We have Dr. Camille Preston. She is a business psychologist, an author, a speaker, and an executive coach. Since 2004, Dr. Camille Preston has been a trusted partner to leaders facing pivotal moments of change. There's something profound about the crossroads moments in leadership. When you're being called to step into a larger version of yourself, when the complexity you're navigating requires not just new skills, but the ability to trust and tap your inner wisdom. When you sense there's more available to you, if you knew how to access what's possible. These moments can feel isolating. The weight of expectation, the uncertainty about next steps, the gap between your current capacity and what seems to be required of you. This is precisely where Camille offers her distinctive lens on leadership development. As a business psychologist, she fuses deep psychological insight with a sharp understanding of business, enabling her clients not only to lead effectively, but to thrive while doing so. Her approach strips away distractions, focuses on your leadership, and expands your impact through subtle, enduring shifts that drive lasting transformation. Okay. Anyone who can write that beautiful of a bio about their work, you have to know. that they're going to provide a beautiful conversation. And that's what I am inviting you into now. So, as you prepare all of the last minute things for your holiday gatherings, I hope you enjoy this beautiful conversation with Dr. Camille Preston. Dr. Preston, I have already decided you're amazing and fabulous. And I wish we would have hit record 15 minutes ago when we started this conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
A pleasure. And I have to say, I just loved diving right into a soulful, alive, real conversation about what it is that matters. And I'm really looking forward to continuing on. For the
Yes,
people listening, we were talking and talking, and all of a sudden we're like, we should have hit record because we dove right in. So we'll catch you up.
for
We're
sure.
excited.
Yes. And as my listener knows, first of all, they know I love this podcast. They also know that I'm really not available for conversations about nothing because once you've had these delicious, rich, transformational conversations, it's like once I've had amazing dinners in amazing restaurants in France, I really, Five Guys just doesn't do it for me.
Doesn't do it.
Right? So it's like,
That like sums up the journey of my last year of saying, wait a minute, all I want to do is live real. I don't want to have light, superficial, like nice conversations. I'm doing air quotes, nice
yes,
conversations that just don't enliven what matters.
right,
Hmm.
right. And I love that all of our listeners, we are all just in that same space where all of a sudden, feels like all of a sudden, these blinders come off, this awakening, we get a new prescription to our glasses, something happens, and we see very clearly what was just not even in our view before. It wasn't necessarily a denial, it wasn't consciously putting things off. It was maybe watching somebody else say yes to themselves is what unlocked a door, but it's finding out that we have agency. We're like, wait, what?
We can do
What?
this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And instead of being mad and trying to go back and fix or redo a bunch of things, we're like, well, forget that. Let's just do it differently starting now.
love it.
So I would love to know, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
Ah, such a good question. Such a good question. And I think you nail this idea of enlivenment or a rising up or like a stepping into a sovereign wisdom sounds a little too grandiose, but
I think it captures it.
it captures it. And I think it actually all starts with listening inward, listening to
Mm,
ourselves. And for the listeners, we started talking about all the things that we were told, all the lies that we bought into, or the things we accepted as fact when they were just someone else's opinions. And I was joking with Wendy. I held up my book and I was like, that's chapter two. The chapter two is called The Lies We Were Sold. And for so many of us, we've accepted things that were given to us and said, oh, this is what needs to happen, or this is what needs to happen. So in terms of saying yes, there's so many ways I feel like I feel like I say yes so much more now.
yeah.
But a story I will tell was December 8th, I woke up at 4 in the morning and there was an entire book outline. And I remember waking up and like being like, first of all, why are you waking me up? Second of all, I have two kids, two books, I'm done. And I rolled over, sleep did not come back. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll go write it down. I'll write it down and see if it's meant to be. And and then I wasn't even sure I was saying yes to the book then, but I was
Mhm.
like, if I'm meant to do this, because it's a huge undertaking,
Yeah.
like whether it's a wedding you're planning, anything creative, and all the doors started opening. And I think that's a really powerful thing for folks who are on the cusp of change or
Mhm.
contemplating. It's like starting to see where where might the doors open so that I get to be enlivened by something versus having to force something forward.
Right. I feel like the yes unlocks the how.
Yes.
and
If
Amber
it's meant to
Lillystrom.
be, it'll,
Yes.
yes, yeah,
Yes. And you don't have to figure it all out before you take a step through that first door.
yeah. And sometimes it's even just as simple as, yes, I'm going to be curious. Like, is this true or is this not true? Or like, show me another way, because there's so many constraints and there's so much disruption and turmoil and destruction. And we're in such a interesting stage, like whether it's politically or geopolitically or AI and workplaces, there's so much change. And all of that is also a door opener, a possibility, a creator. And so like we can start to be curious, if this is going away, what's meant to be?
Right, right. And using our bodies and our emotion and our intellect and our experience and all of those things together to know what is right for us. And it's an inside job and it's individual. We were talking before I hit record, and my listeners know I have been in this epic journey toward divorce. And
Or like maybe it's not divorce, maybe it's into your like new next chapter.
totally. Yeah, that didn't feel good coming out of my mouth. So thank you for that.
Like designing a life your daughter
Oh
would
my
be
gosh.
inspired by. Yeah.
Right? Which I feel like I've been doing for the past 6 years now since I started this journey of change and personal development. And I am a quick study in some areas, and I am also a person who I'm a decider.
Mm,
So I give myself plenty of space now and permission to course correct. But
mm,
what my decision has been is I choose me.
mm,
And me choosing me makes me such a better mom. Because if I'm trying to choose Amelia and sweet Lovey is, you know, changing. Her body is changing. There are hormones surging. I cannot figure her out sometimes. So I can't choose her. I am doing the best I can. But what I can do is I know what it feels like to be me. And I
mm.
know what every thought feels like. Does it feel better or does it feel worse? And if it feels worse, I'm not going to try to figure out why. I'm just going to shift my attention to what feels better and trust that if it feels good, it is good because this is me and this is how I'm doing it. And I remember even when I decided that it was time to complete with my marriage, I don't know if it was my cousin or someone asked, "Wow, okay, well, what did your mom say?" I'm like, I don't what did my mom I don't know. Like she's and then I had to really remember. She said, "Well, it couldn't have gone on the way that it did." And it's like, great. But it also was like of zero consequence. Like, is my mom mad? Is she glad? Is she judging? Like, I don't care what Keith thinks. So why would I care what my mother thinks?
Well, also just trusting that inner wisdom. There's so many pieces you said, and like there's all the beliefs that would be layered in, like a good woman would stay, or you
Totally.
made a contract, or don't you value family values, or
And we're Christians. God hates divorce.
all these are assumptions rather than saying the most important thing for your beloved daughter is that she has a loving, whole mom who can love her with your fullest capabilities. And the oxygen mask analogy is so overused. And yet we often deny ourselves oxygen for the things that will feed our soul and fuel us and ignite us. And so for people listening, notice the shoulds and notice that inner desire, that inner longing that's saying, like, I need, there's a part that you want to enliven within yourself. And it sounds like you've done that in a really beautiful way.
Thank you. And the beautiful thing about that as well is in this transformation, this change of building really a new thought and belief system, that choosing me and caring about how I feel and all of those things, it's not a denial of everybody else.
It's living real.
It is. And it's reminding me that number one, control is an illusion. Number two, I cannot create in anybody else's experience. But what I can do is trust that the universe, the divine that is caring for me and informing how I feel about my decisions is equally available and interested in everybody else. And this particular decision was 100% a double blessing.
Yeah.
He is so happy to not be here.
Hmm.
I am so happy for him not to be here. And he is happy. And Amelia is getting the best experience because when she's with him, he loves and adores her always, not just when she's with him, but he's happy and in his space, right? And I love and adore her. And when she's with me, I'm happy because I'm in my space.
What you're saying is that one of the concepts in the book is this idea that tension creates consciousness. Like
Ooh, say
when you
more.
hold tension and like are compassionate and gentle with it, you open yourself to the next level of thinking or believing. And it sounds like you at one point were able to open to the tension of like, maybe this isn't the marriage for me. Maybe this isn't the path. Maybe that I've been sold a book of lies. Like and you said you took 9 months before you even started a conversation. So you held that tension
Yeah.
and it's opened you in this new way. And for listeners, we're often raised to think tension is bad or push it away or
Mm.
push it down or dismiss it or ignore it. But if we can strengthen ourselves so that we can hold the tension, we can open into this next level of possibility, thinking, joy, creation, soul fulfillment. Like, and the same thing as happens at an individual, at a marriage, at a team, at an organization. It's building our capacity to hold that tension opens us beautifully.
That is stunning. Oh my gosh. It's so, I have chills all over. How do we hold that tension with compassion, as you mentioned?
It's a great question. I think I would start by just explaining kind of what we typically
Please.
do in our world. We typically and sometimes we were raised, sometimes we were positively reinforced for doing this. We see it on social media. When we have hard things, when hard things happen, we like to think about putting it in a box, duct taping that box and putting it in the basement. And then another hard thing happens and we put it in the basement of our metaphoric house. But what we don't realize is that every time we put a box into the basement, we're actually putting a box into the second floor of our metaphoric house. And so if the basement is hard things and the second floor is joy and fulfillment and delight, all of a sudden our 3-story house, basement, first floor, second floor, becomes a 1-story house. And so it's what I
Mm.
call shallowing, where we
Mm.
don't feel anymore, we don't feel the lows all that much. We just put them in boxes in the basement, but we also don't feel the joy and the delight and the happiness and the fulfillment. And and so in shallowing, we're less real in relationships. We feel less alive. We're less willing to take risks. We are less exposed to different things. Like your willingness to take all these risks in with France and with the inn and all those things are there's highs and lows, and that's what makes you who you are. But as a culture, we've shallowed because it's safe and easy and familiar, and that's what good girls do and all of that. But life is a full range.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. And I feel like that was my previous life was shallowing. And
Mhm.
like you said,
Now
I
you're
wasn't.
reeling. You're REALING. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So how would you inform your clients, invite our listeners to move into this whole house? How do we do that?
It's a great question. I mean, I think you actually have spoken to it already, which is like starting to notice the highs and the lows and starting
Mm.
to notice like what's accepted in your world versus not accepted and where are you shamed and So that's one gateway, and it's just to start
Yeah.
to notice. I think another gateway, we often like to think we change for pleasure, but in reality, we change for pain more often than pleasure.
Mm.
But we are in a mental health crisis. We have unprecedented loneliness, unprecedented burnout, unprecedented anxiety, depression, and that's a direct result of shallowing. And so I think for people who are on the journey, I'm not saying stop your medication. I'm saying start to think about how you start to build your capacity to navigate and go through some of this adversity. For your audience, I came to this concept. I had 5 deaths in 5 months. It was like
Oh, honey.
it was just like it was, and the first one was the hardest. It was like my closest family member who was beloved. I will also say he was my closest family member, but not one that was recognized by society. He was an uncle, and people are like, "Oh, he's just an odd uncle, like he was quirky," and but like he was my everything. Like I talked to him
Mm.
every day in COVID. Like he was really, really special to me. And he was widowed, had no kids, so we had a really unique relationship. But it was interesting because that's a hard thing. And people are like,
Yeah.
"Okay, you can grieve it. It's been 3 days. Can't you get back to work?" And
Right.
then like and so you start to realize that I actually have to figure out what I need and take
Yeah.
care of myself. And so the book is living real, and it's redefining success, presence, and happiness. And the idea is that we need our own definition of what is success. It's not power, fame, and money. We have to come up with our own definition, and then we have to start to deconstruct all those, as you described so beautifully, the lies we believed, and start to say, what is it I want? How do I engage? And so the book really walks you through that. And then the second part is really the activities and the exercises of saying, like, okay,
Mm.
how do I question some of this? And like, what do I do when someone isn't real with me? What is it I need? And how do what's my responsibility? So it's been a fun journey. I
Yeah,
would
I
love
bet.
for to folks to buy the book. You can download a chapter on our website, livingreal.aimleadership.com. But it's really about igniting the best version of yourself for you. Like,
Right.
which is what you're doing. You're on that journey.
Oh, it's exhilarating also. When you can retract your experience from everybody else's and really focus on yourself, trusting that everybody else also has agency and can own their own experience as well and have access to all the tools and all the things if they seek them out. So, I can say it's incredibly easier because I'm the only one that lives here
Mm.
and I'm an entrepreneur and I intentionally curate the community that I desire. And I don't have to go to an office. I don't have to be around negativity. If I
But I would
am,
push back
yeah,
and say
please.
you have strengthened your container. So I
Yes.
often use the analogy of a water balloon. People are like, I want more, I want more, I want more, like more responsibility, more enlivenment, blah, 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 blah. But if you don't strengthen the container and you
Hmm.
put too much in, it's going to pop. And so
Totally.
you actually strengthen the container. You're like, I have this question, I have this curiosity, is this the right thing? And then you probably nurtured it and you
Yep.
nurtured yourself and you refed
Hmm.
yourself and you started to say, what are the boundaries that I need? How do I navigate? I had a coffee with someone after my hot yoga this morning, and she's an incredibly powerful woman, incredibly dynamic. And she was sharing her story. And like we went through a couple chapters of her life, and I was like, there's a thread here. And she's like, what are you seeing? I was like, you didn't set boundaries and you overgave and then you were
Mm.
exhausted. She's like, oh my gosh, I can see 3 different chapters where I've done that. I was like, she's like, so what
Mm.
do I do? I was like, let's not worry about what you do next. Let's strengthen that container where you are able to hear your own voice. You're able to push back and say, I can do that. I can't do that now. Right. And especially for women, again, that we've been layered in so many rules. And I just want to say
Yeah.
for folks listening, I often work with people at compounded crisis. So when they have multiple things happening at once.
Mm.
And why that is because when one thing happens, you can be like,
Yeah.
just dismiss it. But when you see it time and again, it's hard to deny. So like one death, I could have perhaps denied some things, but like
Right.
whack-a-mole deaths was something that
Yeah.
I had to look. And so when life gives you something really hard, the first response is like, oh my gosh, WTF, I don't want this. Like, this is awful. Be in the awful, but then start saying, okay, what's behind this? What is
Mm.
the opportunity? What does this look like? And we were chatting beforehand. One of my beloveds is 2 weeks and a day out of a divorce. And
Mm.
I was in their wedding and it's been devastating. And he's not quite ready to say, like, what's right about this or like, what am I
Right.
meant to learn? And he holds that grain of like something is meant, like this part is dying because this part is being cracked open and
Yeah.
nourished and like new possibility. The more he can strengthen himself, the more he'll be able to see that possibility there. It's hard
Right.
when you're in it though. I mean, you've lived that, you know that firsthand.
Yep. Yes, and you have to, well, you don't have to. You can do this any way you want. For me, I really had to be so intentional. I had to be intentional about, again, the community that I curated. I implemented a morning routine about a year before I was sitting in the question, and that my commitment to myself is real. And that space that I held for myself
Hmm.
changed everything. And I've sustained it. So I've
So you
been
built a
doing,
container and
yes, I
first thing
did.
in the morning, you invested in your inner container.
Yes, I did.
Brilliant.
Yes, I did.
What was your morning habits?
I get up at 4:45 and I make myself coffee. I'm sure I'm supposed to have a lemon juice and apple cider vinegar or something, but that does not taste as good as coffee. So I have coffee. And then I journal. And that is a way for me just to get things out of my body.
Mhm.
There's gratitude in there. There's whatever is on my heart
Yeah.
falls out on the page. So, sometimes people will ask the question, what keeps you up at night? Like, well, nothing really. I sleep really well. But the question for me is, what hits my journal every morning is that's where you can tell what's on my mind. So I journal. Then I am a student of the Course in Miracles. So I
Mm.
do that lesson and I'm on my fourth year through that. It's 365 lessons and then you start over. And for anyone that doesn't know, it's rebuilding a thought system based on fear with a thought system based on love, or dismantling the one on fear and rebuilding based on
Rewiring.
love. Yes, it's
Mhm.
unbelievable. It's been transformational for me. So I do that and then I meditate and then I read. And then I'm adding stretching and exercise to that.
Mhm.
But I feel like I have 2 days every day because of that. And at the end of that process is when I wake my daughter up for school or for the day. So she gets the very best version of me because I'm all full.
Yeah.
And because I have those tools and because I'm committed to doing them in the morning, and
Mhm.
if something happens in the night before, because I like to go to bed by 8:30, if something
Woman after my
happens,
own heart.
right? If I'm in France with clients,
Yeah,
we're like arriving at the restaurant at 8:30, not in my pajamas. So I shift my schedule, but I don't shift my routine.
that's beautiful.
So whenever I get up, I still do those things. So because I have those tools and because they are my practice, I can also use those tools during the day if something has happened. Like you said, you're building those internal muscles. The year that I had my courageous conversation, 2022, that year, my word for the year was aligned. And I
Mhm.
felt like that whole practice of working on that relationship between me and me, that it was like doing core exercises. So when something knocked me off balance, I could right myself because I practiced, because I built that foundation, because I knew what it felt like to be in alignment
Yep.
and I knew what it felt like to not. And it made it very, I don't want, I, the word easy is coming to mind, which sounds really not
But
very
you were
nice.
listening inward and you heard your,
Yeah.
like you created a container or a structure or a practice or a way of being that you could hear yourself. And then
Mhm.
when you started to be like, oh, that side of myself is actually pretty clear,
Mhm.
pretty like direct. I want this. All of a sudden, other things opened, which is
Right?
beautiful.
And the things I didn't want, I was able to say, "Ooh, it's time for me to complete," and to not worry about the other person. I mean, obviously different completing a marriage than completing, something with a client or a friend or whatever. I'm not going to use this lawn service anymore, whatever that is. But I could also recognize in other people, I could started to see like, oh, that felt like you meant no, but your word was yes. Can I invite you to take a deep breath and check in? And
Yeah.
let's make sure that that yes is a yes. There, and that person would say, well, I really want to do this for you because I'm like, no, no, like you're not my source. So you are not, if you're a no, there's a yes behind you and it's going to be fine. And like that was the other piece of my alignment, was that I was able to identify who my source is. For me, it's God. And to know that God, in all of his creative prowess,
Hmm.
can make anything happen from anywhere, not just the handful of things I know about.
When you're in alignment, it becomes much, much easier. I want to just put a like a framework for people to think about as they're
Please.
listening. Sometimes we are forcing. We're like
Yeah.
square peg, round hole. I will make this marriage work. I will make
Hmm.
this business work. I will X, Y, and Z. Forcing takes a ton of energy.
Yeah.
Then there's resourcing, which is like, well, let me just throw time and money at it. If I put enough time and money at it, it'll be successful. And then there's sourcing when everything's
Mm.
aligned and you're listening on a deeper level. We are rewarded for cognitively processing things and forcing them. And where we feel our alignment, our flow, our living real is what you're describing is when we're operating from source. And I agree, it might be God for you, it might be Mother Earth for others. It's everybody has their different source.
Right.
But the key part is pursuing that until you find that awakening.
Yes, and not making anybody else source, which you can, right? And you can
So
see
true.
if you're doing that. There were
Or
times
the
when I
rules, like if I get this, I'll be
right.
happy. If I get that,
Exactly.
yeah, I see
Right?
that so
Right?
often.
So freaking
But I
out about
did
like,
everything
"Oh,
right.
yeah, and no one's signing up for my stuff and now I'm not gonna be able to." No, no, no. My clients are not my source. My
Yeah.
ex-husband is not my source. Even questions from the lawyer. Do you think he's hiding money? From whom? From God? Good luck with that. Like, I don't, it doesn't matter. It totally does not matter. Whatever the accounts read, the state of Commonwealth of Massachusetts says I get 50% of that. Great. I don't need a forensic accountant to make sure that I get everything that's due me. I'm set. Thank you. God is my source.
That is like we operate too often from fear, right?
Yeah.
And for people, sometimes they use fear to get enlivened as opposed to source, which
Mm.
is what you're hitting on.
Right, which I would say that my time in A Course in Miracles has helped me dismantle the thought system based on fear. Like, I truly am not afraid.
Mm.
And I truly have dreams and desires that are big and fabulous. And there's about 3,000 steps between where I am now and where that is, or 3 steps, who knows? Like,
Mhm.
I'm not planning them out, but I know what I desire and how I want to feel. And I'm tapping into those feelings
Mm.
where I am now and knowing that that's just going to attract more of that. And
And that goes back to what you say about alignment and wanting to live real, but it like
mhm.
making all these micro shifts along the way.
Yes, yes, and I give myself permission to course correct.
Mhm.
Like, I thought this was a great idea. And then I did it. I'm like, huh, that was
Mm.
not as fun as I thought it was.
But even there is a great example, like you were willing to sit in the tension. Was that a good idea? Was it not a good idea? Like
Mhm.
most people, we move so fast, we don't allow ourselves that space.
Right. Which I think is also from fear. We're afraid if we slow down that that boulder's going to run right over us. And
We're going to fall behind. We're not going to be enough. We're not going to be loved. Yeah. Yeah.
right,
And the
right.
first, you've said time and again, I'll just reiterate, living real starts inside. It's an inside out journey. It's figuring out like, who am I and what is it that's most important so that I can live in alignment with promises I've made to my kids or desires, promises and
Yeah.
commitments I've made in my faith or
Yeah. Yes. So the book sounds amazing. I cannot wait to get my hands on
Mhm.
it. The way that the outline for it was just downloaded
Isn't that
to
crazy?
you in the beautiful early morning. It's my favorite time of day. So it's full of possibilities, right? Like I can accomplish anything when I'm thinking about it at 4:45 in the morning.
And actually, just because I think it just threads to one of the other
Please,
components, don't lose your question.
I won't.
Um, so summer of 2024, I had all these ideas and like tension creates consciousness and this idea of in listening in layers and listening inward. And I had all these, I create these resources, which are like cliff notes for my clients. They're 3 to 5 page summaries of concepts that they need as a leader. And all these ideas were coming to me last summer, and I was writing them often in the early morning. And I was often thinking, well, this isn't monetizable, or this isn't what a corporate exec would want. And I had that doubt, but I did it anyway. And so then when the book downloaded, it was like, this is resource there. Like you could see how it all just filtered in. It was a huge lesson in surrender of like, if I had said, if I had turned the volume off and said, nope, I'm not doing that, I don't see a line to monetization, I wouldn't have been living true to my purpose, but I also wouldn't be trusting that something was meant to come through me.
And that was my question. Was the process of writing the book as beautiful as that downloaded outline,
Oh, it was
which
so messy. It was so
but it
sloppy.
sounds like it was messy and sloppy because you didn't say, in 2025, I'm going to write a book and I've got my calendar with my team and I'm slotting this amount of time every week to dedicate to my book. And I'm going on a retreat in Q1 to make sure that I'm at the deadline that my publisher, all
Yeah,
of
all
this,
those
like,
structures, all that external.
exactly.
Yeah.
And instead, much like this conversation, which I said when we first got on the call, you've been preparing for this conversation your entire life.
Yes.
And that it sounds like the book, it just came out of you and you listened to the whisper here and the whisper here and brilliantly captured it in something that you could pull from later.
Hmm.
And then the book came together. And perhaps what felt messy was because there was ease and it was already there. And you're like, oh, well, I said that first. Like it came to me in May, but it really August comes before that. And then May comes in. Like it was more of a puzzle, but you had all the pieces.
Yeah, and I'll make it really concrete for folks. I was invited to speak at an event, and I was like, wow, I've always wanted to speak at this event. But then there was a retreat I wanted to do, a learning retreat. And I like sat in that and I was like, and I chose the retreat. And
Mm.
then I applied for the retreat. I'm actually bionic. That's a whole other story, but I couldn't do the retreat because I'm bionic. I was like, oh, this is interesting. So now I'm not getting the keynote that I wanted and the speaking and this retreat. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I emailed one of my dearest friends, who's Alice in the book. That's not her real name. I said, hey, you always said I could. I sat with the question of, should I write in the snow or by the beach? I literally sat with
Mm.
that question. And I emailed my dear friend and I said, you always said I could use your condo in Myrtle Beach. Is it available? She's like, it's only available for 1 week in Q1. I was like, well, what week is that? It was the week that I had blocked for this.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, so I get to Myrtle Beach and you cannot make this up. I'm there and I'm like, it's right overlooking the ocean. So I'm hearing the ocean sounds and it's totally quiet because it's January and it snows for the first time in 13 years. And it didn't just snow, it snowed like 10, 12 inches, and then it didn't melt. And so I was like, oh, this is so funny. I said beach or snow, and I got both.
Oh my gosh.
But
I
then I gave
love
myself
that.
permission to like let it come. And it wasn't perfect and it was messy. And it was like, but I stayed in it and I created that space. So anybody who's exploring or considering, or you have to lean into the messy and you have to create
Yeah.
space to be in it and then step back. And it took a lot of contracting. Like my husband was amazing. I did a couple writing retreats to really do this deep dive because we've got littles and it was meant to be. And it came, actually, I'll tell you one other funny story. One of my
Please.
advisors, and so I started writing around the 21st of January, and I was talking to one of my mentors on February 11th. And I was like, so this book thing, I think it's going to come. I was like, when should it be published? And he's like, if you want to have the maximum impact, it needs to be out in the world by June 9th. And I remember thinking, that's bat blank crazy. I was like, yeah.
Right.
And then I was like, well, if it's meant to be,
Yeah.
and it was. So I hope people will get a copy. It's been a joy, it's been a passion. And what I'm hearing for a lot of people is it's like a manifesto of like, this is what I want. I want to live more real, like exactly what you're doing. And it helps you put words around what has happened and
Yes.
helps you understand what are the costs and consequences of not living real, which you're
Mm,
experiencing and saying it's hard to get through that liminal space. And what's possible is
off the charts.
awe-inspiring. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
excited.
I'm
So
so
fun.
excited. Okay. I'm so happy that this will not be our last conversation.
I love that.
This is too fun. But please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, how they can get their copy of the book, all the good things.
Perfect. The best place is Living Real, all one word, livingreal.aimleadership, AIM leadership.com. And ironically, AIM leadership stands for Awaken Inner Mastery, but I
Oh,
deal with a lot of like
gorgeous.
kind of more alpha corporates. And so it's kind of my like Trojan horse. And you can buy the book there, you can download a chapter to listen to, you can get these really practical exercises so you could do in the morning. We believe so deeply in the idea that people are craving real. There's also
Mhm.
a way to download how do I do a reeling event in my own home with my friends to get people more engaged. So there's lots of resources that'll also link you to my LinkedIn where we do a lot of lives and a lot of free things there too. So I would love to stay connected. I would love to hear from your listeners. What is it that
Yeah.
they are on the cusp of saying yes to as it relates to living real? Like you're the yes lady. So let's explore
Yeah.
yesing into reeling.
Oh my gosh, 100% yes. And we will link everything in the show notes. And listener, if you are as inspired as I am and you are available to answer Dr. Preston's fabulous question of what your next yes is, then please take a screenshot of this podcast, tag us, do all the things, reach out, message us, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever your pleasure is. We want to be on this journey with you. We are on this journey with you, and we're up to big, fabulous things.
Such fabulous things.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.